sketches for my sweetheart to drink.
All right. We got 20 tracks to talk about, everybody. Let's not waste any time. This album is great. Sky is a Landfill. First glimpse of what Jeff is trying to explore on a new set of songs. Case in point here, you got the progressive alt-rock chord progressions. Like odd, stilted dissonance and resolutions. And it's more rhythmically energetic, which like classical compositions. And what I mean by that is like, you think of modern pop rock and it's, 4 chords, 1 chord per measure. And like that last chord is typically a 5 and it wants to go back to the 1. Whereas you listen to Bach and there are like tons of tiny little microscopic dissonance and resolutions everywhere. Like it's constantly like, oh, now I feel good. Oh, now I feel good. Oh, now I feel good. And this is kind of what that is doing. You never know what chord's going to come next. And it just kind of put me in that same kind of like uneasy place as when I listen to classical composers and I'm just constantly trying to like find my way through these really quick resolutions, if that makes sense. Everybody here wants you. Damn, Jeff. I thought I was straight until I heard this song, but now I realize I'm still straight, except for Jeffrey Scott Buckley. I wasn't expecting him to pull off like a soulful R&B track like this, but it works very well. It's pretty good. Open Once. Love these swirly guitar chords. Like this and Jewel Box would have made a killer single. Kidding me? I'm always down for these calmer soundscapes that Jeff likes to evoke. Super dreamy, very nice. Nightmares by the Sea. Why does Jeff think it's okay to just make a sick post-punk gothic track like this? This song rocks. Like every passage has a unique atmosphere and it all comes together to make like a really strong alt-rock track. And of course, like lyrics, fantastic, compelling. Yard of the Blonde Girls. Well, Witch's Rave. This might be my favorite off of disc 1. I love that jangle pop break partway in. Much like Nightmares, it has fantastic phrasing, weaving in and out of these disparate parts. Also, as with so many Jeff tracks, sublime lyrics, like fantastic poet. I love the lyrics on a lot of these tracks. And they jump out immediately. Like normally for people who are more like music minded, and I've heard other reactors say this too, like they'll hear the music first and the lyrics soak in far later. But with this album, like the words were like piercing through, very like it's hard to ignore them. Like so many great examples of that on this album. New Year's Prayer, really sultry, like borderline raga rock track, has a great vibe, and it seemed like he was kind of exploring a lot of other ideas in this style during this era as well. Not necessarily a favorite, but it's very mesmerizing, and I like that kind of staccato guitar riff, like doop, deep, doop, doop. Morning Theft. This is kind of the yin to Opened Once's yang a little bit. Very open and swirly, but it's a little bit darker, more introspective. And I love how the last half of the song kicks off and just kind of whisks the whole thing away into the breeze. Such a great track. Vancouver. Man, this is a very dense song. And it seems to get better with each listen. Again, like I said for some previous tracks, it's like it's got that kind of like progressive alt-rock chord thing going on where you're trying to like get a sense of what he's playing. And by the time you're like, wow, that's a weird chord, he's already on to the next weird chord. So it's a little like, it's dense. It's a very tricky one to unpack, and I'm kind of still in that process even now for Vancouver. You and I, Spoopy. I really enjoy him kind of experimenting with the more vocal-based stuff here. It's just an ambient a cappella drone, but it's quite compelling. Quite compelling. So, other disc here, all the weird stuff here, and Jewel Box. So, Nightmares by the Sea and New Year's Prayer, these are... they're called the original mixes. Are these the ones Tom Verlaine did? And it was like Andy Wallace did the other ones. Borderline indistinguishable. I don't know exactly why this happened, why there was an extra mix in the first place, because they sound basically identical. So not any comment there, really. I think I gave them the exact same ratings. And then Haven't You Heard? This is where the weird alt rock begins. Such bizarre guitar work here, man. But it's not messy for no reason. It's so compelling. And then we got I Know We Could Be So Happy, Baby. And really, it's just the odd hard panning with the percussion in the left ear, which was apparently muted guitar strumming. Is that right? Which makes a lot of sense. But the composition is interesting here. Murder, Suicide, Meteor, Slave. Jeff has been taken hostage by Captain Beefheart and needs rescued, everybody. But man, how anxious this guitar sound is, combined with like the random visions of chord changes that we are familiar with. Like we'll occasionally get like oh, we're on the 5 and now we're going to the 4, and then he's like on something really weird. And it's like, oh, it's so tense. What a unique piece of work. And then particularly for the 90s alt rock scene too. Back in NYC, so this is the Genesis cover, is that right? Which I didn't know when I listened to it. I think I learned that later. I didn't know that at first, I should say. And I still haven't heard the original in full, but this track seems pretty cool. That droning bass note, boom, with the like splintering guitar riff over it is pretty cool. And then Demon John, which is like on it, like more bizarre than Murder, Suicide, Meteor, Slave, if that's even possible. And I don't like it as much, but it's like still a really dynamic and engaging listen. It's like, it's so like visionary and like unique and just comes straight from the brain. And it's like hard to like turn your ears away from something so like undistilled, or very distilled, I should say. Your Flesh Is So Nice. I just wrote blushes. Jewel Box. Favorite track off of both discs and probably a top 5 Jeff track for me. Love the simple guitar part. Love the lyrics. Love the melody. These ramshackle songs that are able to do so much with so little are like some of my favorites, period, overall. Like I've pointed this out before with like Dagger by Slowdive. I mentioned it when I did the Spoiled by Sebadoh reaction. I love really unique, simple, just me with an acoustic guitar with interesting tuning or chords, and like really interesting lyrics. Like doing a lot with very little, but making it different. I really vibe with that. And I try to do that as often as I can. I still haven't really made my track that's like that, I don't think. Satisfied Mind, the final one on the main album here. Apparently like an older country blues track that Jeff had covered on a radio station in 92, I think. It seems sort of like tacked on, but like the guitar playing is deft as always, and his vocal delivery always carries anything. It's a good track. It's a good track. I enjoyed it. And then the 2 extras that I did, Gunshot Glitter, it has another bizarre guitar part, but like the anxious tension makes it hard to turn away. An interesting idea that kind of seemed a bit unfinished. And then Thousandfold is more cool guitar explorations, a bit slower paced and a little less experimental here too. So that is my ratings and everything for this album. Favorites would be Open Once, Nightmares by the Sea, Witches Rave, Morning Theft, and Jewel Box, with shout outs to Sky's a Landfill, Everybody Here Wants You, New Year's Prayer, Vancouver, You and I, Murder, Suicide, Meteor Slave, Demon John, Satisfied Mind. Oh, now I gotta say, it would have been so cool to see him continue to make music. Like I've been talking with Mojo Pin 1983 on Facebook about like singer-songwriters and like potential and lost potential, and like I'm a huge Elliott Smith fan, so I talked about that for a bit, and like we got to see that with Elliott a little bit. Like he went from that like lo-fi recording in a living room with Roman candle vibe to, hey, Gus Van Sant, thanks Gus, same city, right, Portland, getting his music into Good Will Hunting, and then he was able to make XO, Figure 8, From a Basement on the Hill, and like that stuff was like, whoa, I didn't know he had it in him. With this, it's like, I didn't know Jeff had it in him. Like a soulful R&B track, a jangle pop track, a gothic rock track. Like this is insane stuff, and it works. Like he knows what he's doing. And that was what was so remarkable to this about this listen for me, was hearing Jeff do things that I would, he didn't want to make a Grace Part 2. And I was expecting a Grace Part 2. I was expecting, you know, like Parachutes to Rush of Blood, right? I don't know, but this was very insightful, and it makes it all the more tragic that that he died, because like I think he could have made so much interesting music, and like still continue to be interesting to this day. But I'm glad that I heard this. I think it's very valuable, and any Jeff fan should check it out for sure, because there's a lot of quality work on here that is not what you would expect from the guy who made the Hallelujah cover. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, so I follow up for Sketches for My Sweetheart the Drunk. Fantastic set of songs. Rest in peace, Jeffrey Buckley. That's all I have for you guys today. Hope you're all doing well. Until next time, fare thee well, and Godspeed.